How's it going, you guys? Welcome back to another edition of the podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about podcasting, and what it is that I do for my podcasting is not what we'll be talking about today, but rather kind of a product review. One of these newer products that has come up online, and I have these questions that I get sometimes with regards to how to start a podcast and people that are interested in podcasting and just how to go about doing it. And so the reason that I don't want to talk about how I do mine is because it's a real, I want to say, Frankenstein setup. There's a lot of things that I've put together that allow it to work. And it's not necessarily the most user-friendly or intuitive way. It took a lot of research and just a lot of studying up on audio equipment and what would work best for the needs that I had. And in the beginning, the needs that I had was I needed a mobile setup so that I could meet with people and podcast on the go. I also needed a setup that was going to split the audio into individual channels so that I could interview individuals on my podcast and edit their audio separate from my audio. Now, there's a lot of reasons for this, and it's not one of the things that we're going to be, I guess, diving too into with this. So to sort of keep this introduction kind of short, I guess, the whole premise of this is to talk about the Rodecaster Pro. It is a product that Rode, if you're familiar with Rode microphones or just any of the Rode products, they are an Australian-based company, and they have come out with a new product that has got me actually very interested for my own podcasting setup, and which is why I kind of want to talk about it now, because I think that for anybody who's out there who's interested in podcasting or interested in sort of, I don't know, just getting into recording audio and or possibly using this product for things like live streaming video, I think it's a really good go-to product for people. And to sort of sum it up, the Rodecaster Pro is a mixer board, and it has 4 audio input channels. So you can plug in 4 microphones into this product and sort of adjust the levels and some of the metering, among other things, just straight from this one device that can plug in via USB to your laptop or your computer. So it makes it very simple right out the gate to understand how to control volume on the fly while recording your podcast with just yourself or up to 4 people total. And there's also 2 additional channels, which is one of the things that was very difficult, or is still somewhat difficult for me, is having phone interviews with people. The reason for this is there's usually they get echo coming back through the line whenever I'm recording, or I'll get echo if they have me on speakerphone. So there's just a lot of things that aren't very easy when it comes to setting up what's called a mix minus, and it requires a lot of excess cables. Whereas this Rodecaster Pro, it's pretty much just a one device. You plug in your cell phone via the TSR, or to simplify things, because I feel like people listening might not know all the names of all these things, so I'll just try to simplify it as much as possible. You pretty much plug in the audio cable into the headphone jack of your phone. If you have a newer iPhone and you don't have a headphone jack, then you'll need that dongle to then plug in a headphone cable, and it needs to be a 3-ring headphone cable from your phone to the device. And then you're able to speak to the person over the phone from your microphone and then hear their audio through your headphones or the headphone output on the device. So it sort of makes it very easy to just plug and play. And if you don't want to do that, or you don't want to go that route, it also is enabled with Bluetooth. And now you can set up your laptop as the Bluetooth device. So if you wanted to play music over your Bluetooth from your computer or your laptop or even your cell phone, and you wanted to bring that into your podcasts, you can input your cell phone or laptop or whatever other Bluetooth device you have. One other thing that this thing comes with is sound pads. Now, again, like I mentioned before, the haphazard setup that I have for my podcast, it's not super intuitive. So having sound pads, a person might think, why? And one of the reasons for this is, say you want an intro in your podcast. Well, for myself, if I have like an audio cut, like after I do my intro and I want to enter audio, I have to do that in post. So I have to do that after the podcast is recorded. Now with this, you can actually enter that in live. So you say your piece, hey, welcome to the podcast. This is blah, 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 whatever your intro, whatever you want your verbal intro to be. And then if you want music to come in after that, with one of these sound pads, you can have your audio file ready to go. And you just punch that pad, your audio, your song will come in, and then it'll fade out the way that you want it to. Or you can use a slider to control the volume to bring it in and fade it out manually. And it's as easy as that. There's other things that you can sync in with these sound pads. And to kind of give a description as to what these sound pads, for those of you who haven't seen this or you're not pulling it up on your computer, these sound pads are just square pads that you would see on something like a beat machine or, maybe a video game at Chuck E. Cheese. I'm not sure. I'm really just trying to simplify things for those of you guys who are listening. But other things that you can do with these pads is you can pre-record a podcast interview with a guest at any time this guest is available. And then when you're ready to sit down and begin your podcast, you can start it out, cue up, like introduce your guest or say that you have a recording with a guest, and then punch that pad that has the recording and then just let it go. You don't have to necessarily have a guest on the ready and just try to slam it out all at once. Say you set a day for recording with guests, and then the next day is when you do intros or pretty much finalize all these podcasts. Well, you don't have to do it all in one sitting. You can have it pre-recorded and then cue it up via the sound pads. Other things that are included with this device are some sound effects, so booing, clapping, cheering, things of that nature. All very premium sounding sound effects, jingles as well, and they keep the sound pad pretty simple. For myself, if I wanted to have this same type of setup, from what I've seen online, I would need to download some kind of app, either to my phone, my iPad, or my computer, and then have that audio pipe into my recorder. And so it's, again, an additional device or an additional application that I have to have set up in order to then have this same option that comes in on one recorder. The other thing is that there is recording options with this. Now, my recorder that I use a Zoom H6. It is a 4-channel, and by 4-channel, it means I can record 4 different audio sources with it. Well, maybe 5, come to think of it, but the 5th, I don't want to confuse you. It's not really that useful for my what it is that I do, but I can record 4 channels, so I can have a total of 4 people with microphones, and it'll split these channels up into individual audio tracks, and they're all synced from the time I hit the record button. Whereas this device, the recording options that they have is you can record either straight to a micro SD card that is connected to the device. So I'm guessing, because I don't have the device in hand, I'm merely just reading off some of these specs that are from Rode.com. I'm guessing that you may not need to take your laptop with you if you're doing a mobile podcast. So you might be able to just take this device by itself, some microphones, some mic stands, headphones, and record a podcast directly to the USB on board. Other options are using a USB and connecting that to your computer and using your computer as an audio interface. So if you use something like Audacity or GarageBand, any of these other recording softwares on your computers. I only know of those two because those are the only two I've ever used. I think Adobe has one as well. I can't quite recall offhand what it's called, but if you use any of those, I believe your computer or the software will be able to recognize the device as an audio transmitter. Now, one of the things to take note of is that it is producing one track. So though you may have 4 guests, all of the audio will be layered on top of each other into one audio file. So it's very important that you wear your headphones when you use this device, because if there are problems with somebody else's audio or your audio, you will find it impossible or very difficult to go back and edit that, which is one of the reasons why I went with a Zoom recorder, because everybody's audio is independent of one another. I can edit each person's track individually. Now, I have to do this in post. It's a lot more work, but in the event that somebody else's audio is off, I can fix it. So this device, I think, would be really great for somebody who has a room or has a setup that is set. There's very few variables that can come into play when using this device, or a person who is, I guess, fluent in recording. And even if you're not, I think that the learning curve is going to make it very easy for you to pick something like audio recording and podcasting up very quickly, because even then, producing a single track out is not a big issue if you know what you're doing. It's one of the reasons why I'm looking into this device myself, because I've gotten a lot better after doing podcasts with other people, that I no longer need to spend as much time on other people or my own track. It's pretty much, it all sounds relatively the same. So I'm able to, my workflow is cut a lot shorter, and I'm able to expedite or export these podcasts a lot faster. Whereas when I first started, I definitely needed everybody's track to be on its own. This device would definitely be something to increase or decrease, I should say, the workload for myself. Now, there are some specs, but I'm not going to read them. It takes a micro USB card, or a micro SD card, I'm sorry. And it looks like it has 512 megabytes, not gigs, megabytes of internal memory for storing sounds and programmable pads. So I'm guessing if you're on the go, you can set a program for the pad, but you may need to have your laptop with you. Now that I'm reading that, if you wanted sounds or to queue up an interview, so the onboard memory is not that great. However, micro SD cards, they're wildly large. Technology's definitely come a long way. The preamplifiers, I'm not exactly sure how, too much. I don't have too much, I guess, knowledge on mic preamps and all this other stuff. There's a mic that I've looked into, the Shure SM7B. I believe it's like a $400 microphone, and from all of the reviews that I've seen, it is a microphone that does not require what would be called phantom power or electrical energy. However, you need some pretty powerful drivers or preamps to get the sound out of that microphone. So with addition to a $400 mic, they sell a $100 like sound booster called a Cloud Lifter, and there's other brands as well. However, this one's the one that comes up the most. And so my recorder is not powerful enough to drive that microphone just by itself. Now, the Rodecaster Pro, I'm not really sure if this one is either. However, some of these reviews have shown the mic being tested on this device without any cloud lifter or without any sort of gain device. One of the other things that is really great about this is sort of I want to say the live editing. There are things with which I do or I have to do in post. Some of these things are noise cancellation. I'm recording in my spare room, so it is not, I guess, audibly treated, or there's no sound treatment in here. So there's a little bit of an echo. There's a little bit of noise that the mic picks up. And noise is something that when you're not speaking, you'll hear like a little hiss. And that hiss is something that I guess is not sought after. So especially in the audio world. So it's something that I try to remove after I've recorded my audio. Another thing is a de-esser. It comes with one of those. So all of these things that I'm naming, it will go ahead and apply these presets or apply these filters to your audio as you speak and as it records it. So whereas mine, it just records straight whatever I'm saying into the microphone is what the recorder catches, and then I have to do all these things after the fact. So a de-esser is something that helps with if you're really hard on your S's. I think that can be something that anybody listening on earbuds or headphones, they're gonna feel like a sharp sting in their ears every time you say an S. Another thing is a noise gate. When you're not speaking, it pretty much ducks the audio or turns, in a sense, it turns the mic off. And that is something that's really nice, because if I'm not speaking, I don't need all of the noise to be picked up. The car's outside, maybe my kids playing in the living room. I don't need that stuff to be picked up on the microphone. Another thing is a high pass filter, which can be misleading to some people, but I don't recall the range of this high pass filter, but there's a decibel level. I want to say 100 dB or 100 decibels to 125 decibels and below is a range with which captures a lot of rumble. If you're driving in a car, that's road noise. You can apply a high pass filter and it'll remove some of those things. I think that the high pass filter, when used maybe in your home studio or wherever you're recording your podcasts, can help to remove some of the low hum or maybe some excess noise can be found in that decibel range. So having a high pass filter may or may not work for you, but it's definitely something that I use when I'm EQing or adjusting the equalizer on my audio. Another thing is ducking. I think that only the first channel, which would be the channel you as the podcaster or the person using this device, would be something that you would probably want to turn on if you have guests, because when you're speaking and other people are trying to talk over one another, it can be very confusing to the listener. So having this ducking feature helps to lower everybody else's mic audio when you're speaking. So it allows you to control the conversation and to sort of bring or rein things back in. There's another really great feature that this thing has, and it's Apex onboard. So there's two Aphex filters or features that this thing comes with, and it's a Aural Exciter, which I think increases kind of trebly sounds in your voice. It kind of makes it sound a little brighter. For those of you who don't really have a deep voice, this might be something that helps increasing that sort of treble in your voice. And another thing is a big bottom that gives you that radio voice. If you're familiar with Art LeBeau or anybody on the radio, that's usually something that is synonymous with radio, having a deep radio voice. And so these are just some of the features that this thing comes with. I've seen some videos where they talk about the Bluetooth versus the other, just plugging the phone in directly. Because again, I think that for most of us starting out, we may just have one microphone. I know that when I started out, I just had one, and it was actually very humble beginnings. I started out with the Rock Band microphone years ago, back when I had like the PlayStation 2. I had the Rock Band set up, and it was the full mic, guitar, and drums. And though the drums and the guitar have found other homes, I'm not exactly sure where they went. The microphone had just always been in a box in my possession. And one of these days I came across it, and I so happened to be doing some research into podcasting, and I plugged it into my computer, and sure enough, it recognized it as an audio microphone, and I used that. That was the very first microphone I ever used when I learned, or I was on the road to learning how to podcast. So you don't necessarily need something like this. It'll set you back about $600. Pre-orders are now. It is not available to the public yet. If you guys are interested in learning more, I would suggest you hop onto YouTube. There are some people, some influencers, and some product review individuals who have received early releases of the product to get hands-on review. Always take these reviews with a grain of salt. Watch multiple, like from different perspectives, because you'll find that if someone's going to send you something that costs $600 to the public and they want you to do a review on it, chances are they want you to do something positive. Now, I don't have my hands on the product, so I can't really tell you how it feels. I can't really tell you what it sounds like. But based on what I have read, based on what I have seen, it seems like it fits the bill for someone who just wants to plug and play. You don't really want or have the time to do a lot of post-processing. So if you're able to get it right at the control panel, you're going to find that your podcast will just be done and ready to upload as soon as you're done recording. And that's a powerful thing to have. Time is very valuable. As a father, I don't have all the time in the world to edit and do a lot of post-processing work. So I have to find shortcuts on my end in order to make my computer do the work for me with things like Automator and just a list of other things to decrease the workload. But for the most part, this device, if you're able to get it right the first time and it looks as if it's very intuitive and user-friendly, you're going to find that you'll be able to record a podcast and have it uploaded very quickly with you'll need very little knowledge of audio editing. It's just record and go. So something a little bit different for this podcast, kind of sharing with you guys, for those of you out there who might be interested in starting a podcast yourself or just getting involved with it. I think it's a really great thing. It is definitely easier to speak into the microphone and to have engaging conversations with other people than it is for me to stand in front of a camera and vlog. I think that vlogging has its place, but maybe I just have more of an innate desire to be on the spoken word side of things. So if you guys are in that same boat, definitely take a look at the Rodecaster Pro. You can find that on Rode.com. You can see pre-orders on websites like B&H, or I'm pretty sure Fry's.com. they'll probably have it too. I don't think you can order direct from Rode. They go through distributors, but it looks like a pretty solid product. Do your research, check things out on YouTube for yourself. And if you guys have any questions for me, feel free to slide in the DMs. You guys can shoot me an email if you're finding me through my website. If you are finding me through Instagram or watching this on IGTV, leave a comment, thumbs up. If you're seeing this on YouTube and you like what it is that you're hearing and you want to hear more, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, thumbs up, whatever it is you guys do. But as always, you guys, till next time, see ya.